Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mayor Dan Paletko Show. I'm very pleased. Today we got a musical theme, and as my guest I have our city clerk, Walter Prusiewicz, who's going to tell us about a fantastic event that he's chairman of. And we also have Johnny Cash, known as Rock Harley. So both of you, thank you for being a guest on the Mayor Dan Paletko Show.
Well, thank you.
And I think we'll start. City Clerk, what's this great event that's coming up? Can you give us some details, this date and time, and all the particulars?
Absolutely, Mayor. Thank you once again for having us. We are having what I think is going to be one fantastic fun night. That night will be on October 2nd, 2015. It will begin at 6 p.m. It will be held at what I consider one of the gems of our city, the Dearborn, the American Legion Stit Post. That's located right behind the Shell gas station on the corner of Warren and Telegraph. The event will be a tribute to some country western stars. We're fortunate to have Mr. Rock Harley, who will be performing as Johnny Cash. We have a lady who will be performing as Patsy, Cline. And then we have a gentleman who will be performing as Willie Nelson. We also have a special guest mayor. We don't want to reveal, but we do have another guest coming. This event the cost is $30 per person. And if you listen to what it is, I think it's a real bargain. Of course, it will be a buffet dinner by Helena, the famous cook from the Stit Post. It will be beer and wine, dessert bar, the entertainment, of course, which will be several hours long. And in addition to that, Mayor, we're proud to, with your entrance ticket, we're proud to be giving away two prizes, $250 each, just for buying a ticket.
Wow.
So for the cost of $30, it'll be a great evening. You'll be able to visit with your friends. There'll be a cash bar available if you're so inclined, and listen to some great music. And I have heard all these performers, and they are just fantastic. They really do a wonderful job.
Well, for $30, if you go out to eat, I can already taste the Glumpkies and a city chicken, so I would think that's worth the admission, let alone all the entertainment. So let me turn to you, Rock. You've been in the music industry for a while?
Quite a few years. I started way back in when I was young, in several different bands, and kind of got a little bit of national, international fame with a band called Rock's Gang. Traveled around the country for the international auto shows and state fairs, concerts, and backroom brawling bars in the 70s. As a 50s and 60s band traveling the country in the 70s, I had a great time. And since I was performing for the auto shows, there were always somebody there at the auto show that were very famous signing autographs. And Bob Larrabee, who was at that time the owner of the auto show, came to me one day, and I think I was all of 19 or 20 then, and asked me if I knew somebody that could come. He said, Rock, who do you like as people that might draw some people to the auto show for autographs? And I said, well, there's a new TV show that I like, and it's called Welcome Back, Kotter. Mm-hmm. There's a young guy by the name of, he plays Vinnie Barbarino, and his name is John Travolta. Mm-hmm. He said, John who? I said, John Travolta. So he wrote it down. Next thing you know, I pulled into Salt Lake City with the band, and there was John Travolta. So for 3 days, he hung around with us, and I had him call all my relatives, hi, this is Vinnie Barbarino. And I remember they had a card that had his picture on it, and it said, touch my car and I'll punch out your headlights. And John signed the back of that, and he said, thank you. Or he says, from your friend, Vinnie Barbarino, John Travolta. And he wrote his name and address and his phone number. Now, that's one phone number I wish I would have called.
That's fantastic.
But after all many years of being in the band, I kind of retired from that. We were on the road 48 out of 52 weeks, traveling everywhere. And got tired of being on the road and came home and did a variety of things for years, among them running a meat company in Chicago and working at different places and being an entertainer here and there. But basically, with a band locally called Flashback, I would come with them for a while. Then I totally got out of the business for a good 25 years. And a friend of mine who was Dean Martin, tribute artist called me up one day and he said, we have a show in Canada. And he said, we pay you to do a couple songs there. And I said, well, hell, I don't know anybody in Canada. Sure. And that was like maybe 5 years ago. And then since then, everything has just kind of gone crazy. Every time I do a show, I get 3 or 4 more shows from that one. Met all these great people. Kathleen Bressler, who does Patsy Cline, is going to be at the show. Phenomenal talent. Recording artist at Temper Mill Studios. She records there. And, of course, I met Jeff Carr, who does Willie Nelson. And you would think he's the real thing. In fact, his vocals are just superb, and his attitude, and just a lot of fun being with these people doing these shows.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned to you before we taped this that I had gone on a visit. I like stock car racing, so I was back then. They had a track in Nashville, so I went to the race, and then everybody told us to go down some alleyway. You'd hear really up and coming stars in the country western thing. So we went to a couple to listen, and out of the audience, the one woman brought up Willie Nelson, and we were, for just the price of the drinks, we ended up hearing Willie Nelson for about 30, 40 minutes of performing duets with this up-and-coming country western star. So really fantastic place. And then you were telling me of a place down in Atlanta that you appeared
Well,
at.
that was in Nashville, too. It's called the Exit Inn.
Okay.
And we were fortunate enough back then to be knew an agent that I'd met in Johnny Carson's hometown up in Nebraska. I was there playing with the band, and one day the bar owner came to me and said, Rock, he said, I know this guy who's got some people, and he's put him, even got him on American Bandstand. And I said, really? He said, yeah, there's a man by the name of Joe Hupp, and he could do you some good. I said, well, how do I find this guy? He said, well, his father owns a furnace company, and he happens to be right next door, downstairs, working on a furnace. I said, really? Yeah, so we walked across this farmyard, and we walked up the back door and down the stairs into this old farmhouse, and this guy come out from behind the furnace with a big afro haircut, and he had so much black soot on him, I didn't know if he was black or white or what. We opened in those, hi, I'm Joe Hupp. I said, yeah, I'm sure this is the guy that's going to do some good for me. But it turned out that he was a phenomenal guy, and he got us he hooked us up with an agent through Nashville, and we got to play the Exit Inn. Well, at that time, if you were Johnny Cash or Dolly Parton, and you wanted to have a drink and sit in the bar and have nobody bother you, went to the Exit Inn. And you didn't get, the entertainers didn't get paid for entertaining there, but everybody wanted to entertain there because, there was so much talent and talent promoters there that if you got a spot on stage, you were sure to get something good out of it. And that's when we got linked up with most of the bigger events for state fairs. That was a great thing for us because then we got to open for all kinds of people, Dolly Parton, Crystal Gale, Tammy Wynette. I can just go on and on. The Statler Brothers, Ronnie Millsap, wonderful country entertainers. And then with the auto shows, we were always with Freddie Cannon and Chubby Checker and Chuck Berry and Adele Shannon. Anybody who was big in rock and roll would seem to be coming to see us. So I had a lot of good times doing that. And, throughout the years, I just recently picked up a Johnny Cash album, and I looked at it, and I looked at Ghost Riders in the Sky. And guess where he recorded that?
Where?
At the Exit Inn.
Really?
Yeah, so it's always, these little things just keep coming back to you, and you keep seeing little things and reminders of places you've been. And now when I meet people, it's just wonderful because when we entertain, a lot of people are reliving memories. They're seeing us, and they're seeing things back that they remember from when they were young. And, of course, all the young people. It's a new thing for them, too. I was doing the Elvis Fest, and a little boy came up. He was about 4 years old, and he had a black coat on. He had his hair combed, and he said to me, he had a little guitar on his back, and he said, he says, I've been a Johnny Cash fan all my life. Well, you wonder how the kids that young know, but Johnny Cash had a tremendous fan base, and he still does.
Oh, absolutely. The music is just great, and it's great that you're doing this. And later in the show, we're going to actually ask you to play a few numbers. So
yeah, I would love to.
We look forward to that. And I know that the one place, I think the acoustics were better than any place I've ever heard music is at the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
That is just perfect. How they engineered that, there is not a bad seat in the place. And the first time I went, I had no idea it's an actual radio show. So they're doing commercials in between, and we were listening to the actual radio show on that particular night, and it was just packed. So I have good memories of Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, so many of these orchestra halls and opera houses that you played. I know just recently I had a friend, another guy, performer from Nashville. He was a Willie Nelson. He's a Willie Nelson artist also, and him and a guy who does Waylon Jennings called me to do the Outlaw show.
Yeah.
Because when back in the 70s, Johnny Cash went on the road with Chris Christopherson,
right,
Waylon Jennings, and Willie Nelson. So he'll call me to be part of this Outlaw show. And we had played a bar, it was like a month and a half ago in Dallas. This was in Houston. And they had moved this 200-year-old barn that was like an opera house that they turned it into. And the acoustics were phenomenal. And I remember when we played years ago in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I was fortunate enough to open for Dolly Parton. And Mark, Gray, who's my sound man, I know a lot of people out there in Dearborn Heights know Mark because he's always involved in parades and promoting bicycle shows and things. He was my sound man back then, went on the road with us when he was 15, and he was running sound. Well, he said, "Do you mind if I record your show, Dolly?" She said, "No, go ahead." So we recorded, and I have the show that we recorded that night, and I'm telling you, it was just as great as if she'd been in the best studio. Her voice was pristine. It was a wonderful show, and I still have a copy of that show, and in that show she says, "Oh, I'd like to thank the band that came on before me, that Rocks Gang. Ain't they good?" You know, it's things like that you keep forever, you know.
Well, I'm looking forward to the show. You know, and you mentioned the Outlaws. Hopefully we'll do this annually, and next year you can have the Outlaws because that's great music too.
Oh,
so yeah. I know that one year we decided that we were going to try to hit, I think it was 12 NASCAR tracks in 15 weeks. And after about the 8th week, I would have paid somebody to. I was tired of traveling, but we always started each trip in the car with "Back on the Road Again" with Willie Nelson. There's a song, but I got to see a lot of the Southeast, and so that was kind of special, getting to see all those tracks and getting a real flavor of the South. So. Now, how long is each of the three going to perform?
Well, you know, we do anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour.
Really? So
usually.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I'll play 4 hours. I can do 4 hours with Johnny Cash and not repeat a song.
Yeah.
And I'm just one of those people. I've been fortunate enough to have my memory in my old age. And people always say, you know, Elvis. I said, no, when I was young, I did Elvis. But the older I got, the more I looked like Johnny Cash. So here I am. But I actually I went to Johnny Cash shows when I was a little boy, and when I was 15 years old, I went to the State Fair. And in those days, you know, it was a wonderful place to be, and they had a free event there, Johnny Cash performing at night, at 7 o'clock at night, he went on.
And this is the Michigan State Fair?
This was the Michigan State Fair on 8 Mile and Woodward.
Right.
Well, I got there at 7 o'clock in the morning, so I was right in the front row, and I waited all day, and when he came on, it was just after he had the Folsom Prison album out, you know. And he was big then. I mean, everybody came. It was packed. And they had the state troopers actually in front of the stage to hold the crowd back. And here I am, a kid 15 years old. And I went up and I said, "Hey, Johnny, trade me guitar picks." He said, "What'd you say?" I said, "Trade me guitar picks." He reached down and he handed me his guitar pick. And it was shaped like a triangle. And it reminded me of the Holy Trinity. And who would have ever thought of all those people at that state fair that I would have been the one to get that really was kind of like a communion host almost, and I almost felt like it was something that he was giving me a piece of himself. But here I am in my old age doing Johnny Cash, even writing Johnny Cash songs that sound like Johnny Cash, and everywhere I go I just get that all the time, you know. You know, you look like Johnny Cash. Yeah, I've heard that once or twice, you know.
Well, I think this is probably a good time because and we'll come back and talk a little more, but let's take a break and let's hear some of that Johnny Cash great music. So
I'd love to do that for you.
We'll take a break right now to listen to some of the music.
How y'all doing out there? I hope you're ready for a good time. I'd like to just say hello. I'm Johnny Cash. Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, a ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. The taste of love is sweet when hearts like ours meet. I fell for you like a child. Oh, the fire went wild. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire, the ring of fire.
Well, that was a great performance, I'll tell you.
Thank you.
Ring of Fire, and got to ask you, what is your favorite Johnny Cash song?
You know, there's so many songs that he wrote that I love so much, and it just kind of keeps switching for me. You know, I've heard a new album that his son actually produced that has a lot of great new songs on there. But I think recently it's probably been the Ragged Old Flag, because everything has its way of turning around
Right.
again, you know, and it's, you know, when you see what's going on with this country and today, and you look around with history and, you know, trying to take something and change it or leave a piece of it out, it kind of it diminishes what the struggles that we've been through. Mm-hmm. And the Ragged Old Flag is that song that talks about the struggles that we have been through, and that flag, what that flag has been through. Mm-hmm. So that's what one of my, I would say, best performances, because when I do it for veterans, or if I do it, you know, for anybody, it just brings people to tears, and because it's been a long time since they've heard that.
Yeah.
And I've added a few things to that song. And I believe if Johnny was around, you know, he mentioned all the places that flag had stood and all the wars and things, and I added Iraq and Afghanistan to that list. So
Good.
I think if he was around, he'd probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah, and now you've also written a tribute to him.
Yeah, I've written
The
a
song?
few of them. I have a song that one of my best I wrote for a friend of mine owns Italia Collision. And you
Oh, I
that
know him
son.
very well. Yes.
Johnny is a wonderful
Yeah,
guy.
little Johnny.
We go there all the time. So I was there, and I walked in there one day, and there was a beautiful 1954 Cadillac in there. Black Cadillac. I said, man, this is a Johnny Cash song if I've ever seen one, you know, Johnny Cash car. And I thought I'd take all the things that make a Johnny Cash song famous and write it in this song. So in the song, I'm gambling and drinking. I shoot a gambler down. He's the meanest drunk in town. I get arrested. They lock me in the jail. In the morning, the town wants to hang me without a trial. And I escape with the sheriff's wife in the sheriff's Cadillac, which is the Black Cadillac. Actually, it's a good theme for a whole half-hour movie, you know. Maybe you get somebody out there to pick up on that, you know.
You know, Johnny from Italia Collision, I think he still does, but on Halloween or around there, he has a major event, a party, and all the proceeds go to charity.
That's right. I played that for him for several years in a row.
Okay, then I've seen you there because
You probably have.
I have been to that event, and it was at one time at KSC, and then it moved closer at Lascaux, I believe it's been. But
yep. But
wow.
yeah, he does that event, and that is for Danny Thomas and the hospital for children, you know, that he does that for. And there's so many great people out there doing events, you know. Occasionally we get calls to do events, and it really is rewarding to see the amount of people that will put their time, energy, and effort into promoting events, you know. And certainly this event that we have that's coming up for the Kiwanis Club, it's going to be
Rotary.
The Rotary Club. I don't want to get that right.
no,
The
they
Club.
do good work, but this is Rotary night, and
Yeah.
Rotary
Right.
does
Well,
a
the
lot of
Rotary,
good
it
things.
happened because somebody mentioned that to me, and they put that in. I knew it was the Rotary Club. But this is going to be a great event for the Rotary Club, and maybe you can tell them a little bit more about that so they can hear it.
Yeah.
So I know you've mentioned it earlier, but you can tell them the time and date again so everybody will remember, you know.
Okay. Just to share a little bit about the Rotary Club, if I may. The Dearborn Heights Rotary Club is a proud club that does a lot of work in the local area, Mayor. We do things such as help out the Salvation Army, the Good Fellows, along with some other fraternal clubs in the area. We also do a bookcase project out of Daly School where we adopt the 4th grade, and we buy them bookcases, we build them ourselves, buy books, and we present them to the students. So we promote reading. We're a proud sponsor of the Spirit Fest, as you probably know. And we have the dinner, which you do your address at. We sponsor that. We do a lot of things overseas. We're working on a Guatemalan reading project now. We're working on a Layette project overseas, and clean water. And the proudest thing I think that the Rotary has done is we have done a lot, and we're near the eradication of polio throughout the entire world.
Yeah, your organization, or I'm a member also, the amount of good they do in the community, and it's a well-kept secret. More than once, I've had a family in need. I've gone to the Rotary. They've helped them out. There's a lot of good things they do, and it's open to men and women. It's a good group for fellowship. They're just a fantastic. I have gone to events that you never know what's going to happen because they get along so well, and they just have a great time. And if most of the time, my side search from all the laughter that goes on at the event. Where do they meet, and how does one become a member of the Rotary?
We meet at the Canfield Center here in Dearborn Heights. We meet every Wednesday for lunch at 12:15. How does somebody become a member? Ask us. Please ask us.
So they can call your office, and you'll take them to a meeting. And
Absolutely.
if you're not hooked after you go, but it's open to men and women. It is great fellowship. The people in the organization are just great, and I'm not going to give away some of the crazy things they do, but they're out of fun and they're great. Come out and join. If you're looking to have lunch, they have good lunches, and the fellowship is really the key.
We have speakers at lunch, Mayor, different representatives. We've had speakers from the Lions, speakers from Vista Maria. So we're just community-based, looking. If you need some help, give us a call. We buy coats for people who need some coats. We had a woman's shelter that approached us that had a problem with some bed bugs, and we helped eradicate that. So we are just trying to help whoever is a little less fortunate. There's a Fish and Loaves that we work at to help those less fortunate that need some food. So there's so many rewarding things. If you were a member, that we do, that I just urge you to give us a chance. Contact me, contact our president, Lynn Killian. Show up at a meeting. We'd love to just have you show up. We'll treat you to lunch and tell you a little bit about ourselves, and I'd be happy to have you as a member of our organization.
And just bring yourself to that October 3rd event where you'll see Willie Nelson, Patsy, Cline, and Johnny Cash.
You're right. We urge you to get tickets. Tickets are only sold in advance. They won't be sold at the door. We do accept credit cards. If I could give a phone number right now.
Absolutely, and we'll show it at the bottom of the screen.
313-277-1548. Call us for tickets. Let's get that phone ringing off the hook. I will answer it, and we'll be happy to sell you some tickets. We'll sell you a table. We'll sell you two. Bring a friend, and I guarantee that it'll be an evening that you'll talk about and tell your friends about.
What was that number again?
313-277-1548.
277. I think that's today's winning lottery number, but don't tell them that yet.
Okay. So evening of great fellowship, great entertaining, and great food. Can't get any better than that. So I hope to see all of you out there. Let's make this a big success. Let's make it an annual thing. And I'm trying once again to lobby that we'll have you back and doing a great job. So once again, thank you for watching another edition of the Mayor Dan Paletko Show. And thank both of you for being a guest and once again for performing.
We really appreciate it.
We enjoyed that very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate you having us on and promoting our organization.
I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling around the bend. I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps rolling on down to San Antone. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. But I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. When I hear that whistle blowing, I hang my head and cry. I bet there's rich folks eating from a fancy dining car. They're probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. Well, I know I had it coming. I know I can't be free. But those people keep moving, and that's what tortures me. Well, if they freed me from this prison, if that railroad train was mine, I bet I'd move it on a little farther down the line. Far from Folsom Prison, that's where I want to stay. And I'd let that lonesome whistle blow my blues away. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the inside for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line. I find it very, very easy to be true. I find myself alone when each day's through. Yes, I'll admit that I'm a fool for you. Because you're mine, I walk the line. As sure as night is dark and day is light, I keep you on my mind both day and night. And happiness I've known proves that it's right. Because you're mine, I walk the line. You've got a way to keep me on your side. You give me love for cause that I can't hide. For you I know I'd even try to turn the tide. Because you're mine, I walk the line. Okay, everybody now. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the inside for this tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line. And we're walking the line for the Rotary Club. When you see me riding in the back of my black Cadillac, then you'll know that it was true and there was nothing I could do. When I'm riding in my black Cadillac, drinking whiskey straight up with no chaser. I played 4 aces and I gunned a gambler down. He was the meanest drunk in town. I put him in the ground, took all his money, then I bought another round. Well, nobody ever let me tell my story. They arrested me and locked me in the jail. In the morning I found out that that crowd was just about to hang me in their town without a trial. When you see me riding in the back of my black Cadillac, then you'll know that it was true and there was nothing I could do when I'm riding in my black Cadillac. Well, the sheriff's wife was fat and kinda homely, but her biscuits taste like manna from above. But then she winked at me and she handed me the key to the jailhouse. That's the day I fell in love. Well, I waited till the jailer was asleep, and the sheriff's wife was waiting with a ride. Now they call me a fugitive from justice, but I'm a lucky SOB to be alive. Now if I had the chance to do it over, well, I swear that I would never pull my gun. But when you're gambling and you're drinking, you're not thinking, and it's hell to live forever on the run. When you see me riding in the the back of my black Cadillac, then you'll know that it was true and there was nothing I could do when I'm riding in my black Cadillac. Yes, I'm hiding in my black Cadillac. Well, I'm leaving in my black Cadillac. I walked through a county courthouse square. On a park bench, an old man was sitting there. I said, your old courthouse is kind of run down. He said, no, it'll do for our little town. I said, your old flagpole has leaned a little bit. And it's a ragged old flag you got hanging on it. He said, have a seat. And I sat down. Is this the first time you've been to our little town? I said, I think it is. He said, well, I don't like to brag, but we're kind of proud of that ragged old flag. You see, we got a little hole in that flag there when Washington took it across the Delaware. And it got powder burned the night that Francis Scott Key sat watching and writing, oh, say can you see. And it got a bad rip in New Orleans with Pakenham and Jackson tugging at his seams. And it almost fell at the Alamo beside the Texas flag, but she waved on though. She got cut with a sword at Chancellorsville. She got cut again at Shiloh Hill. There was Robert E. Lee, Beauregard and Bragg, and the south wind blew hard on that ragged old flag. On Flanders Field in World War I, she got a big hole from a Bertha gun. She turned blood red in World War II. She hung limp and low a time or two. She was in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. She went where she was sent by her Uncle Sam. She waved from our ships upon the briny foam, and now they've about done waving her here back at home. In her own good land, she's been abused. She's been burned, dishonored, denied, refused, and the government for which she stands is scandalized throughout the land. And she's getting threadbare, and she's wearing thin, but she's in good shape for the shape she's in. 'Cause she's been through the fire before. And I believe she can take a whole lot more. So we raise her up every morning. We take her down every night. We don't let her touch the ground. And we fold her upright. On second thought, I do like to brag, 'cause I'm mighty proud of that ragged old